Mr. Saakashvili and Boris Chochev from the South Ossetian side planned to take place in Sin Valley on that day. Sadly, that didn't happen, but there was a plan to reschedule it for the following day. And in the evening, we did have this, quite, how can I say, mild and peaceful declaration by the President of Georgia, President Saakashvili, to the whole nation, basically saying, that Georgians and Ossetians should live together peacefully, etc., etc. So although there were some very worrying signs, and all of that had been communicated to the OSCE headquarters in Vienna, at the same time there were some good signs. There were some planned meetings to go ahead. There was this statement by President Saakashvili made late in the evening. So actually, to be honest, I was in Tbilisi at that time. When I went to sleep that evening, I felt, well, okay, things are tense, but hopefully we'll be all right. That all changed in the early hours of the mornings, of course, when the shelling started. To my mind, and it's purely my own opinion, it was a ridiculous move on the part of the Georgian authorities to engage in a military adventure in South Ossetia. It makes me personally sad that that happened. I'm one of the few, probably the only international, that saw the sad bodies of Georgian soldiers, dead bodies lying on the streets of Sin Valley. I wish they were still there when I visited the town. It's a tragedy for Ossetians, and it's a tragedy for Georgians. What has happened, and it's hit the lives of many Ossetians and many Georgians, very personally. Clearly, a lot more strong pressure should have been put, I think, on the Georgian authorities not to engage in what turned out to be a complete fiasco. I cannot, and I don't think anyone fully can confirm or deny if there was any provocation from the South Ossetian side during that night of the 7th. Perhaps there was. Yes, odd things happen at night when you've got people tense, armed, heavily armed, facing each other. And things can go wrong very quickly. People can shout across the front line, you idiot, or something worse. Someone fires a shot, someone then responds with some machine gun fire. Then there's, it builds up very quickly. All I would say is that even if that had happened, and I cannot confirm or deny that it did happen, the response from the Georgian side was completely disproportionate. What I mean by that is they fired some very heavy artillery systems into the town that evening, and the early hours of that morning. And I was in contact with people around Sin Valley, not just in one location. I was in contact obviously with our field office in Sin Valley, and with civilians dotted around the town in various locations that I knew where they lived. And it was clear to me, and it was clear, I think, to our military observers, the OSCE military observers in the town at that time, during that night, that the attack was on the town. To claim that only military targets were being targeted, I believe is completely untrue. I think the reporting, certainly from the mission here to Georgia, was going to Vienna. Certainly the reports of the military build-up south of Sin Valley, close to Gori, that was going up. That's been confirmed by the highest OSCE official, the Chairman Office, the Finnish Foreign Minister, who's made reference to those reports that he was receiving on the 7th. So they were going up. The question is, what was being done about them? For me, an important thing is, we had, a good chunk of the OSCE at the highest levels of ambassadors here in Tbilisi, in Sin Valley, just a few weeks prior to this happening. So clearly some real political pressure on all sides not to engage in any kind of really serious military activity was not done in the way that it should have been done, clearly, because if it was done indeed, those sounds or those voices were not listened to by the Georgian side. I think more could have been done. I think the organisation has to have, it's got to learn some lessons from this if it wants to remain credible. It is a conflict prevention mechanism, but as I've just said to some colleagues there back in Moscow, the OSCE is only as strong as the member states want to make it. It's too easy to criticise and condemn what is actually a relatively small organisation. We only ever had a handful of people in Sin Valley. We only had 3 people there on the night of the intense shelling. So the organisation is only as strong as the member states, and important member states like the United States and Russia and others, want to make it. There are organisational lessons which need to be learned, that's for sure, within the organisation. The passage of information perhaps has to be speeded up, whatever. People have to react much better, I think, particularly at the highest diplomatic levels. But not only that, I think the member states of the OSCE, particularly in this region, Georgia, Russia, because of their influence, of course, the European Union, the United States. They really need to to think about what they want from this institution, because it's from the OSCE. Because, as I said before, it's too easy to blame an international organisation. I mean, that's what international organisations are there for, so that people can blame them when things go wrong. The fact is, the OSCE didn't fire a shot in South Ossetia. We had a group of unarmed observers trying to do the best they can to warn people that bad things were about to happen, which they did. But the member states, in particular, need to look at how they want to use this organisation if they want to prevent something happening again.
You've been watching that RT's exclusive interview with Ryan Grist, former senior official with the Organisation for Security and Cooperation in Europe, whose mission was stationed in South Ossetia when Georgian troops attacked the Republic in August. OK, well, I'll be back with a headline.